Miss Hunter. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today for our first episode of the Shaker African American Oral History Project. I'm going to jump right in with the first question. What schools did you attend in Shaker?
I attended Ludlow, Woodbury, and Shaker Heights High School.
What was it like growing up in the Ludlow neighborhood at that time?
I lived in the Ludlow community neighborhood all my life, but in 1960, at age 15, we moved from one home to another home that was deeper into the Ludlow community. But at first, we were very leery about moving there because the house across the street had just got bombed.
Yeah, that was the Peg's house.
Pegs, yes, it was all the news in the newspaper, and we were warned even by the NAACP to be very careful, very cautious, because our white neighbors were just getting used to having Negroes live next to them, around them. But my dad was determined that we were going to upgrade. So after we moved, we found no racial confrontation. So I'd say living in the Ludlow neighborhood at that time was okay.
And you said that was 1960, right?
1960.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, and that was 1960. My parents bought a brand new house on Albion Road as well. And I started afternoon kindergarten in 1960. So how was your experience with the Shaker school system?
In my earlier top days, me and Ronnie Jones, who was the other black, we were at Ludlow, and even as a young 5-year-old, it was always ingrained into me the uniqueness and specialness and the privilege of going to the Shaker Heights the Shaker Heights system because of its teachers, because it was the best school system and one of the best in the country. It was top rated academically. We were very blessed and honored to go there. This was ingrained into me as a child. But my parents were always on guard about racial mistreatment, and were always encouraged and ready to act if anything should be ready to occur. In my elementary school days, I developed many friends. Among my wealthy Jewish little friends, I was invited a lot to their homes and to dinners and lunches and even to sleepovers. But because my mother didn't want me to interface, which she thought was racism, she didn't let me go over their houses for sleepovers. But I had a lot of friends at that stage of my life.
Okay. Can you share a family or neighborhood memory about growing up in the Ludlow neighborhood and living in Shaker?
I could just talk about in the Shaker school system, my experiences were bittersweet, you might say.
Could you elaborate on that, please?
Can you repeat that, Carol?
Yeah, could you elaborate on your bittersweet experience? Because that's kind of how I feel about Shaker, too. And a lot of black students feel about Shaker. It's a bittersweet kind of situation because you know that Shaker has this reputation, but Shaker also has a lot of issues around racism and bias that have pretty much been sort of talked about, but not really addressed as it should be, in my opinion. But go on.
Well, bitter. Here's a cup of bitter, then I'll talk about sweet. The bitter aspect was when I was in the second grade, I actually got spanked. I think I sent you a picture of that second grade school teacher that I had.
Yeah.
I got spanked in front of the whole class.
Wow.
I ran up and did something that the prior Jewish kids did the same thing, but they didn't get spanked for. I was so humiliated and so embarrassed about that, I didn't even tell my parents. I felt ashamed, and to this day, that still brings back memories to me. That was in the second grade. But a sweet memory might be, I think it was the third grade, they called themselves being racially sensitive. They had me and Ronnie, the other black young man who was there, staying out in the classroom because they were going to talk about slavery during that time.
So they asked you and Ronnie to leave the classroom.
Pardon me?
Did they ask you to leave the classroom because they were going to talk about slavery?
We had to stand outside of the door behind the class. They didn't want our feelings to be hurt because they were talking about the slave system. So that was kind of nice. So they didn't want us to feel any way set apart or felt bad. So we had to sit out and not listen to what they were talking about slavery. Now, when I got to the high school, other situations occurred. I can talk about that if you care.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to. That's why this is called the Shaker African American Oral History Project. I want to collect the stories of Black people who lived in Shaker and our student experience and neighborhood experience. That's why I'm doing this.
Now, in grades 9 through 12, when I got to Woodbury, there were in my Shaker Heights High School class, there were 17 Blacks. And 5 of us are now still living. We were struggling to blend in, you might say.
Yeah.
We Blacks kind of stuck together, you might say. My white Ludlow buddy, who was at Ludlow with me, she abandoned me when she got to Woodbury to be with her so-called elite friends. And to this day, she apologizes to me for having done that.
Oh.
Again, it was always drilled into me that a Shaker A put me further ahead than other school systems, and those from other Cleveland school systems would be harder to catch up with our school system. They were national merit scholarship winners. An A, especially an A in Shaker in English, put you further ahead of other people. And if you were like a Black football player or actress, you were always espoused and looked up to by the other kids. But the most bittersweet experience, I would say, came in the 12th grade when one of our Black students who had migrated from Glenville walked a white girl home from school who lived on Beckett, very innocently. He got savagely beat up and attacked by the captain of the football team. He almost died.
Wow. Do you know that student's name?
Pardon me?
Do you remember the student's name? Do you remember his name?
I think the Black student's name was David Goodman.
Okay.
But I forgot. I think his name was Richie. I don't want to call any names out, but I think his name was Richie Stoddard or something. But he beat him savagely because he walked a white girl home. The Black young man had to relocate, leave the Shaker school stuff, and nothing was done to the white student, just a slap on the wrist. And at our recent 60th reunion, the girl that he walked home, Cecily, last year, we were talking about it. And she still remembers it to this day.
Wow.
So that was one of the most bitterest experience I experienced, was to see the racism that occurred at that time. But we stuck together. We hung in. We knew our place. And we were, like I said, it was always ingrained in us the privilege of going to Shaker Heights High School, because at that time it was very highly rated academically. I went to school with some of the richest, I hate to name drop, but some of the richest white people at that time. Bobby Brooks, I.J. Fox, Dreyers, Marks, all these were my classmates, so they were very privileged people. To this day, I still have lifelong friends with several of the white girls. We get together. Her name is Paulette. We get together for dinners and luncheons. We call each other on the phone all the time, and we have a good rapport. So, in conclusion, I say it was an okay experience. I was grateful that I had the honor to go to Shaker Heights High School. A bittersweet experience.
Well, I thank you so much, Ms. Hunter, for your comments. I've enjoyed our conversation. As I told you, this has been a lifelong desire for me to do this project, and I appreciate your contributions. Thank you so very much.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure.
You're welcome, and have a great day.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.